Right, so there has been a lot of drama surrounding the theatrical release of the Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act, the combination of episodes 8 and 9 scheduled to hit cinemas on June the 4th. So naturally, I'm going to weigh in on this topic because I've been covering this show for longer than anyone else on the internet and it is very important to me. There have been 3 announcements posted from Glitch about this release at the time I'm writing this, so those are what I'm going to be basing all of my opinions on. We have the original trailer release, the update post stating they're adding more viewings, and finally Kevin's statement on this whole thing. We will be covering all of this information in this video, but allow me to tease my conclusion early. I absolutely love this. This release is a massive triumph, not only for Glitch but for indie animation as a whole, and it spells a really bright future for this medium and for creators all around the world. Let's dive into what makes this so great and why the people who are protesting it are completely wrong. First off, our original teaser actually starts like any other episode trailer, giving us some snippets of information about the episode and the general tone it will take. They clearly thought out the last few episodes of the series very well in advance because this is going to flow on pretty much immediately from the end of episode 8. We get to see all of the cast still in the center of the tent trying to process what just happened. We will also get a time jump at some point throughout the hour to allow Zooble to change back into the outfit from the pilot, which I think is a really nice touch. We can also tell from the teaser, as well as this poster, that our last episode will be Jax-centered again because he is one of the main characters. There was probably a misconception on how the show would be structured due to the heavy Gangle focus of episode 4, but we still have seen plenty of growth from all of the other side characters in the show. Not to mention we have a full extra hour of content here, so your favourite character will doubtless get their time in the spotlight. Yes, even the Kane fans are likely to get something because of this flashback we see to when Ribbit was still alive. I've also beaten this point to death already, but Alex Rokon, Kane's VA, was present at the episode 9 table read, so he must have some lines. We will also probably get the final payoff to the hints of the Conjuring scenes in episodes 6 and 8. More specifically, Jax will likely use these abilities to do some pretty twisted stuff, becoming the main villain of the finale for at least part of it. All of these uncanny shots of him suggest that one way or another, he's not going to be doing very well in this last episode. But theorizing about the contents of the last act is not what we're here for today. We are here to talk about this, the announcement of when and where it will be shown, in select theaters mostly in the Americas but expanding rapidly to the rest of the globe. Initial outcry to this announcement was admittedly quite negative, and it had some decent reasoning. The time differential between release dates being an entire fortnight instead of something more reasonable like a 5 or 7 day release gap is hard to swallow, and I even made a short talking about how disappointed I was in this reveal. It then leaves everyone who can't see the episode in theaters with the choice of either be spoiled or don't go online for 2 weeks. In reality though, this isn't a dilemma. If you really don't want to be spoiled, it is very easy to set up a burner account for whichever social media you absolutely can't live without and watch all of the other non-circus related content you would like. I know everyone has an old email address somewhere that they don't use for anything and has a perfectly untouched YouTube homepage free of spoilers. That's not even the main issue with that representation though. In a quote reposted by Alex Rokon, there is a nice piece of language stating that if you really want to enjoy something, it won't be ruined by spoilers. If you really like something, you'll be able to watch it over and over again and not like it any less than the first time. If spoilers completely ruin something for you, then you were only really there for the surprise. This is an interesting point to think on, especially in something as limited in official content as the Amazing Digital Circus. If you're watching this video, then it's highly likely you've seen the episodes multiple times, and you may even be able to recite almost everything in them like I can. You can even think of this like your favourite movie. Sure, you know how it ends, but knowing that allows you to appreciate everything else that makes it so good, so when it shows up randomly on weekend TV, you will still watch it again. You also can't really heap the blame on any person who actually cares about the show for this. Glitch can't control the fandom, but most of the members of the fandom are able to control themselves. This channel will be taking a vow not to post any real spoilers until the YouTube release, and a large number of people are doing the same. It is a tiny minority of spoilt children and trolls out there to ruin it for everyone, which is also the case in absolutely everything ever produced. What I absolutely love about the Digital Circus fandom though is their solution to combat this by posting fake spoilers in order to flood out the real ones from the people who don't get to see it early. This is not only a pretty good solution, as the way the last episode has been set up means that practically anything can happen, but it's also fun for the people who have already seen the episode, meaning that it won't just be done out of a sense of morbid responsibility. Then there there is the issue of location. The original release has left out the majority of the planet geographically, focusing on the Americas and Japan. To be completely fair to Glitch though, that area is where the majority of Digital Circus fans are. My own analytics are biased against non-English speakers, but more than half of my views come from within the United States, so focusing on that area makes sense for them. It's also not like they aren't trying to get more theatres. Everyone wants this to be a worldwide release, so everyone is working to make that happen, and we will see over the next few weeks that it does work. In a similar fashion to Markiplier's phenomenon Iron Lung, if enough people email theatre chains, they will see the worth in showing this movie. We already have more showings in the US and a new country added in Mexico only a few days after, so at this rate we will get a good chunk of Europe and Asia. Theatres are a business, and a struggling one at that. All they care about is getting people through the door and buying their overpriced popcorn. They really don't care what is playing while they eat it. So if a lot of people say that they will come to the cinema if they show this specific film, then they will do as requested. Of course, I will admit it's not a perfect system, and it's my one lingering criticism of the release, and that's the fact that there are certain areas where this strategy will not work. If your government bans things like LGBT themes for being sacrilegious or too Western, then you're out of luck. But that is completely out of the control of Glitch, and is representative of a need for change in those countries, not a flaw of the release. Another great aspect of the way they're doing this is by making the screening times available for pre-booking immediately. Normally, cinema times would be announced within a couple of weeks of the film releasing, but here we have 2 entire months to find the right time slot and for cinemas to add extra showings if the current ones sell out. Despite all of these points, many people remained very upset at the fact that they didn't have a screening at their local multiplex yet, so Kevin Ludwichigal, CEO of Glitch, came out and made a personal statement. I will also point out that this statement is from him specifically, and not from the Glitch team like previous announcements regarding controversy. This is a very important thing that he's done, because not only have insults been levied at Glitch as a company because of this, but also at Gooseworx, the voice actors, and even the music producer of the one who's running the show. Let me make this very clear. All of those people have no control over how this thing is distributed. They make the project, Glitch publishes it. Harassing the creatives behind the show is not going to get you anywhere, it's just going to make everyone think you're a dick. Regardless of how you feel about this release, any and all criticism should be levied at the Glitch executives alone. Kevin's statement posits 2 key arguments for why things are the way they are. He says that this release is for the good of indie animation as a whole, and having a worldwide release will show everyone that these projects can succeed. He also states that the 2-week time difference between uploads is the best they could do, and was apparently unheard of before by cinemas. Now, there is some substantial evidence to back up the idea that this can be big for the future of indie animation. Iron Lung has already paved the way for a lot more indie films to release on the big screen within just 1 year, and that effect will last. Exit 8 and the Backroom movies that are releasing this year are evidence of this, as well as the recent announcement that Jacksepticeye will be directing a Bloodborne movie. Big theaters and the movie industry as a whole are taking note of the talent to be found on the internet and social media, and this new release from Glitch will go a long way into enforcing that realization. We're starting to see more and more in the entertainment space that projects made with love and passion outperform those with high budgets. The gaming space saw this last year with the release of Expedition 33 and Hollow Knight Silksong breaking all sorts of records. Labors of love raking in the big bucks will help tip the scale towards more of these projects being made, which has the side effect of making the cinemas in general more affordable. As for this being an exclusivity gap that is unheard of for cinemas, Kevin himself is not even sure if that's the truth. There have been a good number of examples of movies releasing in theaters and online at the same time, but the majority of these are things like Disney films that have an inverse relationship with theaters compared to the one that Glitch have. It is a privilege for theaters to host a Disney film, but it is also a privilege for Glitch to get the Amazing Digital Circus shown in theaters. But at the end of the day, what this offers is an experience, something never really seen before to the fans of the show. It's more exciting, it's more dramatic, it's just bigger in general. Yes, not everyone will be able to see the finale of the show in theaters, but for the tens of thousands who will be able to, it will undoubtedly be much more memorable than any other YouTube show they have ever seen. This is an incredible achievement, an incredible opportunity, and an incredible moment for fans of this show to be a part of. But that's not all I've got for today. Why don't you take a look at the other side of this argument?